I apologize because I'm going to say hello again. Today's date is January 16th, 2025. For those of you on Instagram, you heard me say that a few minutes ago, and no, this is not deja vu or Groundhog Day. I started over and backed up because those of you that are watching either live are going to see this at a later time, pre-recorded, probably through my YouTube channels. I think I set it up on a couple of YouTube channels. I've lost access, unfortunately, to my Marlena Christopher Facebook account that I've had for 3 years, y'all. I have submitted, yes, proving my identity. It's not working. And so all I got to say is these are high level, next level problems, right? The only time that people try to silence you or try to interfere is when they're afraid of what you might have to say next. Those of you that know me or have come to know me since November of 2024 and me being thrust into an undesired, unplanned, unorchestrated by me spotlight know that I'm pretty consistent in terms of my mood, matter, and tone in what I'm going to say. But I'm also pretty consistent in the fact that I'm going to speak truth to power, right? That I'm going to speak truth. Terrible truth that unfortunately a lot of people don't want to hear, but we all need to hear, right? And so I just wanted to take a brief moment to do that right now. We were talking about, as I was on a national call, a law that is called Caden's Law. And of course, you can Google it. It is a federally passed law that has to deal with, unfortunately, the loss, the preventable and the predictable loss of a little girl in Pennsylvania named Caden. This little girl, and most importantly, the basis of it, her mom, her safe, protective mom, was doing everything she could through the family court system to show them that there were threats, that there were risk factors, that the writing was kind of on the wall if they did not intervene and decide not to force unsupervised parenting time and contact with Caden's father. Unfortunately, as so many of you know, and those of you that have followed my story for any amount of time, my social media platforms, or that know me personally, you know that unfortunately, while so many of us, we started out in life and in school in our experience believing, hey, police are there to protect and serve, right? CPS, child protection agencies, right? They're here to protect the children. Family courts, right? It's all based on facts, evidence, law. That's the only thing that they're going to do, right? We believe the best about the systems and the processes that are in place in an organized, civilized society that is designed not to intentionally and knowingly harm people, but to intentionally and knowingly protect people, and when needed, administer justice, right? That's what we've all grown up to believe. But then life starts lifing, as a lot of us say. We get into personal situations where we're now having experience with these systems. And again, I need to make this disclaimer because it is important to me. We have a lot of hardworking men and women in the court systems, in law enforcement systems, in child protection systems. And so, again, I do not paint everyone with the same brush. I never will. There is a period of time deep in my trauma and in my days of shock that the system is not what I imagine it to be, where I probably was ready to. And so that's also no shade to those that feel that way. They are going through personal experiences synonymous with real life torture, living as if in real life war zones. So if they are finding that people are not only hurting them and their children, but they're also refusing to help them, I've been there. I understand the mindset. I've done a lot of healing work. I've also done a lot of work where I fought back, right? There were so many years that I was trapped in cycles of coercive control and abuse across multiple relationships. And when I finally took the time to step away so I wouldn't be forced to do what some law enforcement advised me in terms of letting me know about my rights under castle law, you've been threatened, but it doesn't have to be you first, right? Instead of being even put in that situation, I fled, right? I didn't even want to be in a situation where, because law enforcement courts were not protecting and serving and stopping and intervening in situations where threats are being made, like within Caden's case, I didn't even want to be in a place where I get to exercise my self-defense rights under castle law in Texas, now in Oklahoma, in states that are a lot more gun friendly for self-defense purposes, right? Or hunting purposes or any purposes, right? This part of the country, generally people love their guns. And I am definitely not someone that is opposed to guns. I think we need smarter legislation and protections in many various different areas. But I am thankful for our rights to be able to protect ourselves, our family, our loved ones, our communities, because quite frankly, those that would seek to do us harm, they love their guns and they're going to get access to them. And so what I'm not a fan of is putting everyone else in a position where we are vulnerable and we're overcome by that love by those that shouldn't have them. So going back again, all of that said, Caden's Law was put in place because unfortunately those systems that we believe will protect and get it right didn't. It didn't matter what her mother did or said or proved. They did not protect her. They ordered parenting time for a man that was both the profile of predictable, so that she suffered the ultimate preventable loss of life. Now, I'm also from a part of the country where it's very, very popular for people to say that they are pro-life. A lot of times when they say that, that is pertaining to whether or not a child should make it out on the other side of the womb. And personally, again, I am a proponent of that. But again, I think there's a lot of situations where we can't put blanket statements on individual situations. So I'm not getting into a conversation about that. But what I am going to say about what pro-life needs to start meaning in this part of the country where we supposedly value life so much is we need to value the life of the living, the children that have actually made it on the other side of the womb, right? We can't say that we truly are all about life. And then when those children's lives are at risk, preventably, predictably, we lack the moral courage, right? We lack the fortitude. We lack the commitment, the integrity, the transparency, the accountability, the honesty, the power to make sure that their lives are protected while they're already living it. That needs to change. And so as we talked about Caden's Law that unfortunately had to come to pass with the loss of this precious, sweet little girl and her mother not being able to protect her in the systems that were there to do so, what are we doing in 2025? Like they've been doing for the past 3 years since that made it to federal legislation, is when we found out that there's about 6-7 states that have adopted forms of Caden's Law. There's 4 different aspects of what Caden's Law in its federal form is designed to do. I took some notes, and so I'm going to try to summarize. But what I'm also going to say is if you looked at the description on my YouTube about this live, what I said is I want to talk for a brief moment about the fact that basically, let's give an example. Someone makes an allegation that someone has made a threat to unalive someone. Someone makes an allegation that someone has done something to verbally, emotionally, physically, or in the worst way, sexually harm someone, particularly, let's say, a child, right? Law enforcement is notified. Child Protective Services is notified. If they happen to be divorcing or a former couple that has a shared child that is now going through custody litigation, a lot of times that is when those allegations come out. Now, in some cases, and in too many cases, or I should say in many cases, not too many because it hopefully should come out before, during, and even after, a lot of times those situations are coming out in the context of being reported to the courts for the first time, to police and CPS perhaps for the first time. Why? Because individuals have finally made the decision that no matter what I'm going to suffer, no matter what I'm going to go through, I'm getting out of this relationship, whether it's for themselves, their children, or both. A lot of times that's the necessity. And so, of course, now they're going to talk about things that while they were still holding on, trying to believe the best, make the best, do the best, fight for the relationship, they finally reached a point of no return where, of course, they have to let people know why it's not workable, why they can't do it anymore, or why they don't want to send children into predictable, preventable situations where further harm can take place. When that occurs, I believe we have a responsibility, and Caden's Law provides some direction for states to get involved and to say, you know what, we're going to adopt some form and some level of cadence law, because we don't need children all across the country that we are failing through those in power, right? If we have any kind of power, what greater use of that power than to protect the most vulnerable citizens, which are children, right? And so cadence law says, hey, look, there are a few things that we want to do in family court, domestic relations matters, when there are allegations of abuse or allegations of coercive control. Sometimes they overlap. They are not necessarily one and the same, because there's so many various different ways that coercive control and abuse takes place. But what is the focus? The focus is on 4 different things. And again, I took notes and I had easy ways to go ahead and identify them. And I'm going to try to go ahead and find those as I keep talking. But the point is, there we go, restricting, limiting, providing, and requiring. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. But what I was saying is that ultimately, when allegations are made, and one of those various different powers, law enforcement, child protection, and courts, does not make a finding that agrees that some form of abuse, coercive control, family violence has occurred, whatever is being alleged, y'all, can we finally advance, grow, mature, and develop to realize, just because there's not a finding and maybe it is unfounded, unsubstantiated, can we finally be truthful enough, honest enough, right? Can we be just vulnerable, transparent, truthful enough to say that does not mean that because it wasn't substantiated or founded, that automatically it was false, because they are not one and the same. Let's talk about why this could be the case. Many of you know that I was recently in a situation where my freedom was impeded, right? I was cooperating with what I was told by CPS and law enforcement, which is that there are active pending investigations against my child's father, right? These arose out of clear, intentional, and knowing reports that were made by 2 mandated professionals, one that is professionally contracted or employed through the state of Oklahoma Mental Health, and one that is out of a Texas pediatrician urgent care office, after x-ray and treating my daughter and helping me to be able to provide medical care as prescribed that was being denied prior to me taking a stand to comply with Texas laws and Oklahoma laws to not fail to protect and make sure that she was taken care of. So that is a perfect example. If people intentionally and knowingly say, you know what, this person made false claims, when one, they know I'm not even the one who made the allegations. They know it because both professionals put it in writing and identified themselves. So they know it wasn't me. But if a law enforcement officer still puts in an arrest warrant affidavit, she made the allegation, knowing that she didn't, that's one of the reasons it can happen. If they have statements that say, you know what, she said it, but you know what, to me, she's just a rambling, bambling, bumbling, fumbling woman that I don't even want to listen to as an investigator. I already have biases. I already have opinions. I've already decided that the moment she opens her mouth, it's blah, 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 blah. There's nothing important for her to say. I'm not going to do my job as an investigator. I'm not going to get medical records. I'm not going to call and speak with the person that has the child. I'm not going to try to see the child. I'm going to say case open, case closed. I don't like her. I don't believe her. I would rather stick with dad, with the man, with whatever theory. I'm tired. I don't feel like it. You know what? She has made some threats, or she has made some strong stances. And by threats, I don't make illegal and unlawful threats, but threats to expose injustice. Absolutely. 1000%. And probably twice on Sunday, where God's telling us to definitely seek justice, right? To stand up for truth. And so we're going to retaliate. We're going to silence her. We're going to make sure that she's never in a position to put us in our place and make us actually not only enforce the law, but abide by the law at all. That's another situation where it can occur, right? Confirmation bias. I don't believe that child was in danger. Well, if you don't believe that and you don't investigate and search for facts, or take the facts that have been given to you and blatantly put in your face by other professionals, well, you're not going to make a finding and you're not going to make a ruling. But that does not mean, oh, that person lied, made a false allegation, or was quote unquote alienating their child, coaching their child. What it means is, for people that are committed to make sure that certain people are protected, even if they engaged in behavior harmful to a child, they'll just make a ruling that it was unfounded and it didn't happen. Now, granted, this is not it was just one person acting alone, right? Because there were other women that were involved, other women involved in child protective services in both Texas and Oklahoma, right? So this is not a men are against women type issue. This was women in positions of power that did the same thing, right? That lied, that manipulated, that concealed, right? And so when that happens, obviously, if people are concealing the truth of what did occur and there's no finding, again, this does not mean, oh, well, police, CPS, courts fully investigated. That's the assumption of what they were supposed to do. That doesn't mean what they did. And oftentimes, way too many times, they didn't. It's what they didn't do. So with that said, a lot of times people might be falsely alleged to have committed some crime, some offense against another. What I want to encourage us to stop being so willing to do is to go ahead and rubber stamp and say, well, if the allegation was true, then clearly charges would have been pressed and they would have suffered some form of consequence, but they didn't. So I was cleared. It's not actually what's going on. Always. It's not one and the same. At the same time, the fact that someone has been accused, we also got to understand that it doesn't mean that they are actually guilty of what they have been accused of doing, right? The presumption under the law, under criminal law, is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But so many of us know, if that's the case, then we have 100% innocent people sitting in jails and prisons all across the country that are awaiting trial, that are awaiting their next step, if it's bond or governor's warrant or whatever the case may be, any number of circumstances, they've already been convicted. Well, then that means 100% of the people that go in are actually innocent, but they're being detained and their freedom is being lost anyways. So what I just want to encourage us to do is to be more open-minded, to be more willing that when presented with new facts and new evidence and new information and new education, that we are willing to take on new elevation, right? New elevation in the ways that we think, and the ways that we process information, and the ways that we are willing to either be manipulated, misled, or ourselves as adults coach to say, you know what? I don't even care what the facts are. The person that I like, the person I support, the person that supports even perhaps my private behavior, I'm going to go with them. I'm going to expand their agenda. Whatever they're working on, I am going to rubber stamp it. I'm going to support it because it aligns more with how I feel, how I am, with what I believe, and I don't care about the truth. Can I inspire someone today to be more open, be more willing, be stronger, be better, be more courageous, be more integrous in 2025 as you thrive, based on the truth, based on the facts, based on the evidence, and yes, based on the law? Can we protect more children that are looking to us to be molded and shaped and developed into the human beings that are going to be leading what we call our future? Our future as families, our future as societies and communities, as a nation, right? Children are our future. Can we care about their individual future? And if we can't care about their individual future, can we care about the future of each and every one of us and what things look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if we're all still around, if there is never truth that we can agree is truth? when things are video recorded, when things are audio recorded, and they are going out live in real time, and the facts are the facts. Can we leave in 2024 the notion that, nope, don't want to see it, not going to believe my lying eyes with information that's in front of our face? Can we decide that we're going to reject cognitive dissonance, denial, DARVO, deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender? Can we decide to be better than that? And then finally, can we decide to support those that say, you know what, I know I'm not going to be believed. Matter of fact, all I've been is discredited by those in power that know the truth, but they don't want to accept the truth because in some way, shape, form, or fashion, either personally, professionally, or in their profits, they benefit to let the truth die, to let the truth be covered up. Can we decide to be bigger, better individuals, better examples for our nation's children? Whether we personally have them, whether we have grandchildren, whether it's the children in our schools, in our communities, can we decide to be better and let the chips fall where they may? Can we decide that we're not going to be so beholden to people that even if the people that we wish and we'd love to love the most and those that we honestly love to hate the most, can we say, regardless of how we feel about people, we're going to look at their actions and say, look, if this is not something I would want occurring to me or a close loved one, then I can't rubber stamp it happening for someone else. And understand, when I say rubber stamping, this also means silent consent. When we stand by and we decide that we're going to be, quote unquote, neutral, not pick and choose a side, how many of you know, and how many of us can just agree, when we do that, we have actually chosen the side of the oppressor? Bottom line, there are situations where we're going to be required to take a stance. Things are either true or false, right? Let's think about if we were driving down the street right now. Let's say we wake up tomorrow and everyone says a red light does not really mean stop. Nope, that's not true. A green light doesn't really mean go. Nope, that's not true. And everybody leaves it up to their own interpretation. How many of you want to keep driving down the road 5 minutes beyond the time that they announce? Everyone interpret the stoplights the way you would like to. If you personally don't believe that red means stop, then you fly through that intersection and everything will be all right. I guarantee you, just as fast as I would pull over and get off those roads, you would do the same thing. So I'm going to ask us to be better. I'm going to ask us to be wiser. I'm going to ask us to start to act in greater integrity. And I'm going to ask us to go back to simple things like, you know what? Treat others the way that we want to be treated. I'm going to ask that we stop requiring children to have more, quote unquote, forgiveness, right? And to have more grace and mercy than adults are willing to have. I am not going to get political. Politically, I'm independent, which means I have voted for Democrats, I've voted for Republicans, I've voted for independents. I look at each issue individually. I believe that there is much to be acquired in both of the major parties, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But what I will say is many people, and I would have to say the majority in our nation, based on the issue that there are certain people that should not be here, they are a danger to us, and if they committed any type of violent crime that hurt me and my family, they immediately need to leave. No forgiveness. No prayer meeting. No, we need to let the past be in the past, right? It's immediate, off with their heads. But then we ask children when they are harmed by those they trusted and loved. You know what? I know they hurt you, but we're not going to talk about it. And matter of fact, they didn't really hurt you. Somebody told you to say that they hurt you. And in any event, whether they did or didn't, whether they're continuing to hurt you or not, your job is to love them and to forgive them and give them grace and mercy, literally, until and unless it possibly kills you. That's what you're expected to do as a child. Fall in line. Be respectful. Don't call things out. Love your parent, even if that parent is hurting you. And then they get older and we're going to ask them not to be abusers in teen dating relationships. We're going to ask them not to be pretty little victims. or handsome little victims, is yes, it can go both ways. Many of you know I'm a boy mama. I spent my life from 15 to 45 investing in raising boys to men, right? So I definitely am not that person who could say, oh, she's got a bias against men. Doesn't work with me. Got too many amazing men in my life, personally, as a boy mom with now a +1 princess, and definitely business partners in various different arenas. That's not my dynamic. But I am going to speak the truth on what I have heard, what I have seen, what I've experienced over the past 29 years and counting. I didn't want to be on here long, but I want to say that one of the things I am committed to in 2025 as I thrive is, I want to talk about issues that matter. I want to talk about the things that are affecting our nation's children, our nation's families. I want to talk about Caden's Law. I want to talk about laws that make sense, like Peaky's Law out of California, Ohm's Law out of Utah. These are all children that had names, that have names, that will never be forgotten. I personally have no less than about 15 to 20 mamas that I'm connected to on social media platforms, that I've shared private messages with, phone conversations, that have literally lost children, just like Hayden's mom, just like Om's mom, just like way too many to count. Center for Judicial Excellence out of Marin County, California, they do count. And they're continuing to count the numbers of children that we fail, families that we fail, safe, protective parents that we fail when people don't have the institutional or personal moral courage and integrity with the public trust they've been given to protect these vulnerable citizens when it is absolutely profiled as predictable, preventable, and we need to on purpose start doing just that. One thing doesn't automatically mean the other. Definitely going to be addressing the issue of the child protection catch-22. Definitely going to be addressing the issues of this punish for protecting notion and concept that is actually quite prevalent, specifically in states like Texas and Oklahoma, where again, many are asking lawmakers to make the presumption that if for some reason, other reason can also be financial influence, political influence, personal influence, if for some reason courts, law enforcement, CPS are not finding allegations to be substantiated true, they're asking that now punitively you throw the book at the person that either made the allegation or believed the child, and you throw them in jail, lock them away, get rid of the key. Again, we're back to this no forgiveness for them, just for those that harmed others. I'm going to ask us to be better than that in 2025. I'm going to ask you if this is something that you could support to any extent or degree, in any capacity, that you join me, that you join a nation of strong, passionate, courageous, integrous women, and yes, men as well, that are saying no more. We want better. We deserve better. The last thing I feel led to go ahead and share is, unfortunately, we went into this new year of 2025 with immediate tragedy coming out of New Orleans, right? People were there celebrating, and immediately it turned into a dark day, a dark moment, and loss of life of many, injury to many. What many do or do not know is that, unfortunately, there were protective and restraining order issues on a private, domestic, intimate partner level in this particular terrorist past. If you did the research, you'd probably find out that a lot of mass shooters and individuals that bring their theories, their beliefs, their threats, their rage, their retaliation, whatever the case may be, that becomes the motive that they descend upon large groups of people, and we now have a big public crisis and tragedy. Most of their backgrounds have some allegation where someone somewhere said danger, not safe, threat, and a system said, we don't really believe you. And if it's just you, it's not that serious, until it now involved the public. Can we decide to stop rubber stamping and in silent consent allowing these things to happen? Because I would dare say that, again, that loss, like so many others, that is irreversible, is predictable, it is preventable, if we choose to use the power that we have to do both. I'm going to ask that we do that in 2025. And I'm going to ask that you join me as I join so many of you as we continue to move forward and thrive. With that, I want to say thank you so much. I see you. I don't want to mispronounce the name. Adaro Canyon Family Consulting. Thank you for being on. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate you. Sending you so much love. I know there's some others that have joined. Paula and, it's like Paula and Ken forever. Paula and Ken forever. I think it is. I apologize. My R's are not the best, y'all. Let's see. Black Men's Wellness, TDX, good to see you. It looks like some others. I don't want to get into reading all the names here because I don't want to mess something up or mispronounce. Mona, okay, great, Mona. All right, it's good to see you. Thank you so much. And definitely you're amazing as well. So continue to be amazing in this new year. Looking forward to doing amazing things with you and others. So that's it. That's my Marlena's moment. It's about 30 minutes in. Didn't want to be here long, but definitely inspired. Thank you, National Safe Parents Organization. And so many of you that are partnering, California Protective Parents Organization. Again, I shouldn't get into naming people because I'm going to miss someone. Moms Fight Back, Marilee McLean, so many. It's just some of the names that I heard, and I'm just thankful for that are doing the work. And of course, to all the mamas, to all the safe parents and family members, that we're not talking about laws for you. We're talking about the loss of your actual children that will never come back again. I want to say to those of you that don't have a law in your children's name, that our hearts, my heart is with you. My prayers are with you. I'm sorry for your loss, whether it was a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 20 years ago. Your children will not be forgotten. And we honor you. And we thank you for continuing to carry on. People heal, people grieve, people move on in different ways. And some are a lot more outspoken, some a lot more reserved. Either way, whoever you are and however you are, we carry you. We carry you in our hearts. Your angels, your children, their lives were not in vain. And we're going to do the best for those of us that are still here to continue to move forward in such a way that, unfortunately, if we had maybe a little bit sooner, we realize they may still be here, but their memory will live on. And so for everyone else that is watching now live or again on the replay, thanks for listening, for caring to anything that I have to say. I don't feel like I've done a lot. I feel like at the end of the day, thriving, and a lot of people tell me in surviving and continuing to move forward to thrive, that encourages them. So if that is helping someone out there, it is an honor. I'm thankful. I'm honored. I'm blessed to do so. And yes, I will continue to the best of my ability in any and every way that I can. Look forward to meeting, joining, and partnering with so many of you in 2025 as we thrive. Until then, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful evening. Love y'all. Bye.